Welcome back to the Wine Crush. I'm Laura Lawson. And for all our listeners, you knew I couldn't leave you hanging. I had to give you a little bit of talking turkey with someone who knew what they were doing today. Well, right now, that's exactly what we're doing. We have Miss Heather John. She is a contributing editor to Bon Appetit, and she's going to give us some ideas to make our Thanksgiving special. Heather, welcome to the Crush.
Thanks, Laura, for having me. How are you?
I am doing outstanding. How are you today?
Wonderful.
Well, we've been joking around a lot. Heather, I'll tell you right now, I can burn water. So for me to have to do a Thanksgiving show, hey, I can talk wine all you want to, but I got to have someone who can tell me what to do with the bird, that table, and those people.
Well, I'm really more in your camp with knowing what to do with the wine, but I can certainly come up with some ideas for what to pair it with. And, of course, we can always go to bonappetit.com where we have a whole list of different menus and wine ideas for pairing.
Perfect. Well, that's actually something I had introduced earlier in the show, that Thanksgiving doesn't have to be about the traditional sit-down. And something you just wrote an article on is about the best wine for your Thanksgiving table and how to pair things in a unique way. So why don't you enlighten our listeners on how that might work?
Well, for the November issue, I wrote a story called "Give Thanks, Drink Spanish," and it's about pairing Spanish wines with the meal, which might seem sort of unexpected, but when you think about it, Spanish wines are kind of known for being very fruity, kind of like wines from the New World from the U.S. or Australia, but then they also have this sort of earthy and mineral quality, much like wines from Italy or France. So they really are a crowd pleaser and perfect for fans of both new and old world wines.
And, of course, right now there are a lot of values from Spain out there, so it can help make Thanksgiving a little bit less expensive.
Absolutely.
When you start talking about Spanish wines, obviously what comes to mind for me for the red is going to be a Rioja.
Well, this is exactly what I'm talking about, because Riojas offer some of the best value in Spanish wines. And although you can certainly spend $75 on a Rioja, some of the very best ones you're going to find for $20 and under.
For our listeners, Rioja is a Spanish general term. Generally, it's made from the Tempranillo grape and goes through special aging concerns. Minimum 2 years on oak, 2 years in cask, or 2 years on oak and then 2 years in bottle. So it can be very, very oaky, or it can be very fruity, very fresh. It depends on what you're looking for.
Exactly, and Rioja is the actual region. So in that particular part of northern Spain, these wines made from the Tempranillo grape tend to be a little softer than wines made from the same grape in other parts of Spain, and I think that's why they're just perfect with turkey.
Absolutely. I think it's a good suggestion that a lot of people won't think about. Now, thinking about white wines, because you know that you're going to have people that have to have a little bit of Chardonnay, what Spanish white would you recommend?
Well, I talk specifically about a grape that is very fun to pronounce, Albarino, and it's from a region that's even more fun to pronounce, the Rías Baixas. And trying saying
all right, Albarino, Albarino for our listeners.
Yes.
And for Rías Baixas, Rias Baxias, I believe.
Perfect.
Feel free to correct me, anybody out there who wants to drop a line on Facebook. Keep in mind we drink in the studio here, and spelling's not my strong point either.
Yeah, so these Albarino wines are, again, these are wines that are very fruity. So if you like a fruity style Chardonnay, you are going to love these. But what I think is really interesting is some of them have sort of herbal notes in them, which if you think about all the flavors that you're serving on the Thanksgiving table, these are just a slam dunk with that.
That does make sense. Now, how has the balance come through? Obviously, we're not necessarily talking about Spanish food right now, but is that going to work with our traditional Thanksgiving meal, what we have in mind?
I serve a very traditional Thanksgiving meal, and I honestly don't serve Spanish flavors in the food on my table, so absolutely. I'm thinking, some of these wines have pear flavors or green apple, the kind of things that, like a wonderful sage and apple stuffing, that would be perfect with one of these.
Now, see, forever, if you go to any website right now, pull up any recommendation, I'm a little bit guilty of it today, too. People talk about, Thanksgiving wines, you have to have Pinot Noir and you have to have Gewürztraminer. What made you think of going outside the box and looking at the Spanish wines?
Well, I'll have to say that a Pinot Noir or a Gewürztraminer would be equally welcome at my Thanksgiving table. Those are great pairings.
Oh, and hey, anything with alcohol in it's going to go over well at mine, so it's not really going to matter from that point. But really,
but yeah, no, I mean, in a sense, the reason that people like Gewürztraminer is that it's spicy and a spicy white, and that's true of these Albariños, and Pinot Noirs are very earthy, and these particular Tempraníos from Rioja are earthy as well. Where I got the idea was I was at a conference in Madrid earlier this year, and I had eaten so much rich food, and I was doing a tasting of these wines, and they just sort of cut through the richness of all that jamón, that really fatty ham that we'd been eating, and I thought, wait a minute, this would be perfect with, well, what's the average Thanksgiving plate? 2,500 calories? That's
I'm sorry, that's the liquid consumption, maybe. I would think mine's much worse.
So yeah, that's kind of where I first started thinking about this.
Well, actually, I'm getting ready to protest. We had Tim Hanai on this show right before you, and he was getting on a plane to Spain, and now you're telling me you were in Madrid for a conference. I'm thinking I'm missing some invitations somewhere.
Book your flight.
Exactly. Well, this is very, very exciting. Of course, it's always nice to talk to someone with a food background who can look at wines from a different point of view. But you had mentioned some recipes. I know we're going to put some recipes on our website. But for our listeners who want to look for something unique, where can they find some of these from you?
Well, I would recommend going to bonappetit.com, and we have a whole section of different menu ideas and pairings, anything from a new Southern Comforts menu to a modern Mediterranean, something for beginners. We even have a menu for vegetarians, so there's something for everyone.
All right, sounds like a plan, and as you know, we will always pirate recipes here at the Wine Crush, so you can go to our website as well. Well, Heather, thank you very much for coming.